Hi, welcome to another edition of On the Spot. I'm Christopher Taylor with My Astro Chris, and you're back on the spot with me. So today what we have for you is a 50-year-old female, and we're going to take a look at a piece of her chart like we always do, and we're going to ignore the rest of it, and we're just going to give this little piece for her to digest, okay? And so with this chart, here's a look at her natal chart right here. What we're going to focus on, if you see in the first house over to the left, and to the 7th house over to the right, and to the top of the chart, what's called the midheaven, or MC. We're going to look at those three spots, because they're all roughly in this kind of 6.5 degree to 8 degree range of the cardinal signs, okay? And this is an area of her chart which is getting hit right now by several planets, and by hard angles from these planets, these outer planets. So it is a time of significant adjustment with regards to that part of her. So what does this part of her represent? You know, what is going through this change right now? The Jupiter in the first house, first of all, she's a Sagittarius sun. And Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. And so Jupiter, sitting over there in Capricorn, actually her rising is in Sagittarius as well. So there's a lot of Sagittarian or Jupiter kind of energy in this chart as it is. And you throw Jupiter in the first house, and now we have this real optimistic character. I've never met her, but just looking at her chart, I can see that here's someone who's going to exude optimism at a lot of levels, okay? And this Jupiter in her first house, opposing the moon in the 7th, this is someone on an emotional level who's going to be very emotionally supportive of others, okay? Always, willing to put her energy into things, into helping people and that kind of thing. And so this opposition between this emotional side of herself, the moon over there on the right-hand side of the 7th house, and what she's willing to give for others, and this sort of optimistic approach that she has represented by Jupiter in the first house, well, this whole part of her, which is very exuberant, very emotionally giving, is what we can kind of describe this as. And this emotionally giving part of her exactly squares from both sides. It kind of forms a T-square up to the top of her chart at the midheaven. And so we end up with this kind of focal point, which is the top of her chart, which is where we come out to the world. And so here's someone who wants to put this energy out in the world somewhere, to apply it in some way. And that's a general soul urge according to this natal chart, what this person would be striving for throughout their life, to put all this exuberant, loving energy to work somewhere, to purpose out in the world, not just to have it purely for her family, which she would have plenty of that in that case, but she wants to do something with this energy, okay? And this time period happens to be one of those times that she'll be challenged to convert this energy into something that is useful in the world. All right, that's really the theme of everything we're going to talk about here, is that challenge to apply it, okay, if she hasn't yet. And so the start of this kind of inkling of this energy getting challenged, we can go back to last spring of 2010. Today is February 23rd, 2011, and so we're going back just about a year, not quite a year ago. This is when Pluto actually was opposing her moon from the first house. We'll get back to Pluto later because that was pretty brief. It was kind of just a preview. Something occurred in the spring. There was some ideas that might have come her way with regard to really wanting to use her energy in some way. All right, so that kind of backed off for a little while, and it's coming back, and actually it's back right now as we speak. This week is a really big jumping week for her, the end of February here, early March, but we'll get back to Pluto again later. What I want to focus on first is Saturn. And if we look at the top of the chart, that's where Saturn is right now. And Saturn actually crossed her midheaven, which means when it crossed her midheaven, it was squaring the moon into the 7th house and squaring her Jupiter in the 1st house. So there was kind of three things going on at once. And this was around September of 2010. So just a few months back, about, say roughly 5 months ago. 5-6 months ago, this would have been a relatively intense few weeks, okay, back in September. Saturn was across the midheavens, so it was kind of a time of getting real about who am I in the world? What am I putting out there? What is my gift to the world, all right? And so there's a challenge of looking at the self and saying, how have I limited myself? Or what are my circumstances, and am I limiting myself to what I can give out there? And so something happened in September that was kind of a a check-in point, a moment of realization that I have all this energy to give, but how do I concretely create something to utilize it? So this awareness came in September. Things have been kind of back off in terms of these energies since then, but here we are in February, late February, early March, and it is a huge jumping off point, like I said before. So now we'll talk about Jupiter and Pluto. Jupiter is at the bottom of her chart, just about ready to cross the 4th house cusp into the 4th house, and Pluto is in her 1st house, just about to start a rendezvous with her natal Jupiter. All right, so we'll have Jupiter right on top of, Pluto right on top of Jupiter, opposing the moon and squaring the midheaven. We'll have Jupiter opposing the midheaven from the bottom, squaring Jupiter and squaring the moon. And this is all happening right now. So this is a real sense of, let's do it, let's jump out there. You know, and even before having everything in order. Hopefully back in September when Saturn was making these aspects to these planets, that was a time when she put some things in order, like perhaps laying a foundation that would support what she's trying to jump off from right now. That's the ideal situation. If the foundation wasn't really set in September, then right now there's a sense of wanting to go forward without having any place to put the feet in some way. And so there's some danger of overextending right now. So that's something to look out for. But that doesn't mean that we want to cap any kind of energy, because there's a real excitement brewing right now. I can almost feel it across this camera, this brewing excitement. And this is something that she definitely wants to channel. Okay, so don't get discouraged. But the point is, you know, don't get discouraged if there's no immediate outlet for it, but let it grow in its own time. Jupiter is going to be finished. It's a very quick thing here in late February, early March. But Pluto is just beginning. It starts here in late February, early March. It goes through the rest of 2011 and all the way through the end of 2012. So about a 2-year period that Pluto will be part of this mix, okay? And so that will be holding the space in a lot of ways with this transformation and actualization of what she can do with all this great, generous energy she has and how she can put it out there in the world. And it won't be done with Pluto here. You know, that's not the last part of it. The last part of it is actually the planet Uranus, or Uranus. This will be crossing the bottom of her chart, kind of what Jupiter was just doing. But this won't happen until the spring of 2012. So this is a little bit further out, a little bit over a year from now. But while Pluto will still be making these aspects, the planet Uranus will come around, and that'll be around late spring 2012, and that'll last for about a year. So spring, summer, and even into the fall of 2012, that whole time period will be pretty intense with whatever she's putting out there. There could be some substantial new opportunities. You know, and some of this could even involve a move of some kind. That's what, you know, with Uranus moving into the 4th house, there could be some sense of, in order to achieve some of these goals that she might have, it might take some relocation, or at least temporary relocation, and just kind of upheaval of the normal security that she might be used to with having one place to call home all the time. It might involve some kind of movement and travel that would, you know, make her, again, sense of security that she's used to have to adjust somewhat. But it's pretty exciting if she can really focus on channeling this energy into something that's useful in the world. Then she's going to, you know, find that there's going to be plenty of opportunities, especially when we get into 2012. But right now, we really are at a jumping off point and something to take advantage of. So that wraps it up for this week. Again, I'm Christopher Taylor of My Astro Chris. If you're interested in your own on-the-spot or a complete and comprehensive analysis with me, you can contact me through my website at myastrochris.com, and I can do readings for you over the phone, through Skype, or in person if you're in the Sacramento area. So, with that, thanks again for joining us, and have a great night.